Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be sharing several dreams and visions that I've had, actually multiple. I've had a lot of dreams and visions over the last couple weeks or so, and so I have not had time to share them. I have been so busy, like I told y'all. My husband has built in our backyard. He built himself it's kind of a kitchen, but it doesn't really have running water in it. It's just kind of a cover, like a small pavilion for his grills and stuff. And after I saw that, I was like, wow, we need a big pavilion back there. And so he built a pavilion, a really nice pavilion that we're going to eventually screen in. So anyway, after he did that, so I had to stain the pavilion. He had also built a new deck. I had to stain the new deck. I had to stain the kitchen. And also at the same time while that's going on, we have added a storeroom to our house, and we had like a breezeway going into our house that we're turning it into a mud room. And so we have just had so much stuff going on at just in our own personal life that I have just been just so busy. And so I promise y'all, whenever I get an end to all these projects and stuff, that it's hopefully will be coming to an end soon. I will be doing more, I'll go back to my teaching on the Song of Solomon, that I want to finish that up, and I will, do other things that as God leads me. And I really want to do, I've been really thinking about this really strongly. I really want to do another supernatural video and share, just get both of my sisters and my mom to get on with me and share just some of the supernatural experiences that they've all experienced, because we have so many amazing stories of the miraculous in our family. And so anyway, so let me get right to these visions and dreams, because I know people love to hear those. I love to hear people's dreams and visions, especially because I feel like, even though everything doesn't always happen immediately, when you share these things, it gives people something to pray about or to hope for, or, just to kind of like maybe put something in perspective that they're feeling. And maybe even other people have even dreamed something similar. So anyway, okay, so this first dream that I had here that I'm going to share today was, this was really cool. This was April 15th, 2021. I had two visions this night. Well, the first one was actually my husband had already gone to bed for the night, and because he works nights and sometimes, and so I was laying in the living room chair, and as I'm laying there, I fell asleep. I was listening to a minister and I fell asleep. I was so tired just from all the stuff that I've been doing. And I was going to read my vision. So the first vision I saw, I was sitting at a stoplight, but in my dream, this stoplight it wasn't red, and it didn't have any color. It wasn't red, yellow, green, nothing. It just was, black. How, sometimes when you're at a stoplight and it doesn't have a color, it's because maybe it's broken or something, except for this stoplight wasn't broken. It just did not have a color on it. And so I'm sitting in my car, and it's almost like I'm in a convertible, which is really weird because I don't have a convertible, but it was like a convertible. And so I'm sitting in this car, and I look up, and as I look up, all of a sudden the light turns green. And in my vision, I knew that this was good, like this was so good. And I knew that it represented that things that had been hindering not just me personally, but as a nation. I feel like that as a nation, we've been going through such a hard season, even since the coronavirus came to our shores last year. And there's been lots of spiritual battles, and and I'm not saying we're not through them yet, but I feel like what God was showing me, that there has been things that we've been praying about, that even as a nation, as people, as individuals, and that things have been stopped, hindered, delayed, denied, whatever, but I felt like God was showing me that vision represented that things were going to start moving. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, like quick, like, okay, so we're moving, like we're going to be there like in a minute. But what I'm saying is, I feel like that God, whatever has been hindered, delayed, denied, whatever, like things are going to start beginning to move forward, and we're going to be able to make ground, if that makes sense. And so that was April 15th, 2021. Okay, so then I had this second vision is one I think we need to pray about. So this happened, after I went to bed that night. I was looking and I saw all these containers. And these containers that I saw look like, I don't know if y'all remember, but back in the day, like probably in the 80s, these old time lunch boxes. Like I had my uncle used to have one of these old time lunch boxes, and it had like a big, the thermos that it had was like made of like, it almost looked like stainless steel. It was, like silver, and it was like one of those kinds. I mean, they just look different now. This one looked like an old timey container, and he would put like soup in it to take to work, but it was about this big. He would fill it with whatever he wanted, maybe even coffee for the day. I don't really even know what was in it, but it was like in my dream, they represented containers of food. And so I saw like 4 or 5 of them just laying there, and there were many, but I picked up that many. And so I picked up one, and when I picked it up, I expected it to be full of food, and it was empty. And I thought that was odd. So then I picked up another one, and it was empty. And I went through like 4, and then I was like about to pick up the 5th one, and they were all empty, one by one. Each one of these were empty. And I literally was so concerned about that, because when I had that vision, I felt like it meant something about food, and maybe like a shortage, or like something, to do with food. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not setting dates on this, but because, like when I had the coronavirus dream, that was 2014. That did not happen until 2020. So I don't want to put a date on it, but I felt like God was showing me that there would be some kind of a food shortage. And then the dream, and then that vision, I went into a second vision. I mean, it was the same vision, but it was like I saw 2 different things. So the first one was the containers, and then the second thing, I saw an orange. It was just like an orange sitting there. And when I went to pick the orange up, it went from a regular size orange to about this big, like to about the size of a small plum, and it was all shriveled up. And I woke straight up from that vision, and the first thing that I thought of when I came out of that vision was about Joseph, when Pharaoh had the dream of the 7 cows, the 7 fat cows and the 7 lean cows, and then the grains of wheat, and the plenty, and then the famine. And so that's exactly like, that was what I thought of when I came out of that vision, because of the shriveled up orange. And so I don't know if that represents a sort of, if it has something to do with crops, because orange, was an orange tree, or, but the food also represented something that was in a container, which would have not been an orange, but it could be maybe both, maybe it's going to be like maybe a pestilence, maybe it's going to be about plants. I don't know. I don't know fully what that means, but I want to put that out there for us to pray, and to just maybe think about, having some extra thing, just don't go low on food. Just keep your, cupboards, with stuff in them. Don't like get to where you don't have anything, and if something happens, like the toilet paper thing happened. Okay, so that was that night. Okay, so then April the 10th, this was another vision, and I don't know, I think I had these in my phone, so I wrote them down. They're not in order. So this one was a very interesting, also, this one was another vision, and, I told y'all in one of my visions about the volcano. I never like have visions about volcanoes, but this was another one about a volcano, which is so odd to me, because it's just not I mean, I have had many, visions about like tornadoes and stuff, I guess, because that's, I'm from Texas, and you always have tornadoes. In Mississippi, we have tornadoes, but volcanoes is just not something in my frame of mind. And so, but anyway, so in this vision, I'm standing on this mountain. It's not a huge mountain, but it's like a cliff, and it's not a dark, like, dark colored mountain. It's like a light colored cliff, like a white, not completely white, like cream colored. You know how you see some dirt is like that color. And so that's the color. It was like a whitish cream colored cliff, rocky. It looked real rocky. And in my vision, it looks like there had been an earthquake or something. I'm not saying there was an earthquake, but there was a split in the ground. I'm standing on this side of what looked like a split in the earth. And I'm standing there, and I'm wondering, number one, I don't even know how I got there. And number two, I'm wondering what happened that would cause this split in the earth. And as I'm looking, just trying to figure this all out, all of a sudden, as I look on the other side of where the split is, I see this bubbling volcanic lava. It is fiery red. It is just bubbling up, like bubbling, 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 fiery, like just like it's fixing to explode. And it's like just anyway, it's just it's like fixing to blow. That was my vision on April 10th and I said 11:54 p.m. because like I told y'all, many of my visions literally are, right as I'm falling to sleep or right after I fall asleep, and I don't always even wake up enough to write them down, but those I did. Okay, so then April 12th, 13th, oh no, I'm not going to share this one. This is a personal one. Sorry about that. That's just a family one. So, okay, so then let me go back to here. Oh, this one is a very interesting dream. This was April 18th, 2021. So this dream, y'all, is so amazing. I mean, it's like scary, but kind of also amazing. So I had a dream last night. I was with my dad. My dad has passed away several years ago, many years ago, actually. And anyway, so in my dream, we are standing outside of this house, and it's like we had all moved into a new house. And I really feel like what that represents in my dream is like the church and even the nation. I feel like we've entered into a new season, a new era, maybe a kingdom. I'm not really sure all that involves. I've heard other ministers mention it too, but I really feel like there's been a shift and we're into a new season. And so I felt like that's why in my dream we were moved into a new home, and it's like we had just all finished moving in, and my dad and we were fixing to go in for the night, and it was dusk. It wasn't dark, but it was dusk, and it was time to go in. And so we're just standing out there talking about to go in because it was time to go in. It was not, almost nighttime. And so as we're standing there, all of a sudden, this animal comes up out of the woods. It's like we're close to the woods, and which is really kind of where we live. It's kind of like that, to be honest with you. It's not real. I mean, it's not like we're not in the woods, but we have a lot of trees, and it kind of looks, if you look out in our backyard, it looks like it's woods. And so that's kind of how it looked too. And as this creature just came out of the woods, and I have never in my life seen a creature that looks like this creature. This creature was standing on two legs like a man, but it wasn't a man. It was a beast. And I told my family, because I was describing it to them the next day, it was standing up like a bear, but it didn't look anything like a bear. But it had like the coloring kind of like of a kangaroo or deer, that kind of brownish. But it was standing up on two legs, and it kind of had the head of like almost like a dog looking kangaroo, not even a kangaroo, but like a kind of a slimmer type face. And I've never seen anything like it before, but it had fur. Its fur wasn't curly or fluffy like a bear. It was like smooth like a deer or a kangaroo, like that, and kind of that coloring. But it stood up and it kind of looked a little muscly. And anyway, I didn't know anything. I've never seen anything like it. And I knew that no one had really seen anything like it in our country before. I knew that this beast was like something that had just made itself known. Like, I mean, it had always been there, but like people just had never seen it. Like sometimes they discover animals and stuff that they'd never seen. And in my dream, it was like, that's what this animal was. It was like an animal that no one had ever seen before, but had always been there. And so he ran in the back door, because we were headed inside and our back door was open. And so this animal just runs in right ahead of us before we could get in the house. And in the dream, I wanted to go in after it because I thought that I could scare it out of the house, because a lot of animals, even though they might be dangerous, they're a lot of times they're as scared as you are of them, and you could like sometimes just run, and that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, well, I could just run this thing out. And my dad, he spoke to me and he said, no, You leave this animal alone and I'm gonna call the professionals. We need to leave this to the experts. You don't need to go in there because we don't know anything about this animal, and they don't even know anything about this animal, but at least they've been trained to deal with animals, and you do not need to go in and mess with this thing. And so I listened to him, and let's see, that's just the description. Okay, so in my dream it says it wasn't fuzzy fur, but it was more like a grayish brown straight fur. Just a weird looking creature. Anyway, when Dad said that, I just listened and stayed outside until the beast would be dealt with by the professionals. I also knew this was an animal that probably had never been seen before either, and it would be like a new discovered animal. But anyway, I also knew that these professionals would have the tools to deal with it and basic knowledge of how to deal with this creature. Now, this is what is so very interesting to me. Now, I shared this with my family. I shared this with my daughter, my sister, and then I shared it with my family because we have on Sunday afternoons, we have Bible study together, just me and my brother, my sister, my mom, well, whoever in our family wants to join, but it's just been really neat. So we have like every Sunday afternoon, we get on like a Zoom call, and we just have like, prayer Bible study thing. And so I shared it with them. And so the next day, a good friend of mine that I've known for years, we were like children together, she sends me a message on Messenger, and she said, Susan, she said, I had this crazy dream last night. I'm going to send you a picture of what I saw in this dream, and just tell me if you can, because I've had dreams for so many years, and I don't think she has had as many dreams as I have had over the years. She's recently started getting really close to the Lord, and, and just God has been giving her dreams and visions and stuff. And so she had this dream, and she wanted to see if I could like help her with this dream because it was so intense. And so so she sends me a picture of this thing she dreamed about, y'all. And it was the exact creature that I had dreamed about the night before. And I'm like, this is crazy. So I literally, as soon as she sent me that picture, I snapshot that picture, and I'm like, y'all, this is a picture of that creature I saw in my dream last night that I've never seen in my life. But then I realized I had seen a picture of that before, but I had never seen it as I had just seen it as an image. And y'all, that image was an image of Molech, or Baal, the god they sacrificed children to in the Old Testament. And what she sent me was a picture, and it said this on her picture. It said that this was an image of Molech, Baal, or Nimrod, and it said April the 19th, which was the day before I had this dream, was the first day of a 13-day satanic ritual sacrifice with an emphasis on child sacrifice. And it goes... And the 19th, which I dreamed it on the 18th, the 19th is the most important of that 13-day period of witchcraft, sacrifice, ritual sacrifice of children and people. Is that not crazy? Anyway, that was my dream. There was no way. But as soon as I saw that image, and y'all go Google pictures of Molech, and the one that it looked the most like, it even looked more like a different one than the one she sent. But when I saw that, I looked at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I saw in my vision. But in my dream, the one that it's like there's one that's like just all black, and it's like muscly, and that's the one it looked more like, because it's like there's several of them, because they had literally idols of that during the Old Testament where they would sacrifice their babies to that Molech idol. And that Molech idol, at one point, I don't remember if it's in Genesis, but in one of the passages you can read it, where that thing fell on its head, and its head I think broke off. But I'm pretty sure that was the same idol that it may not have been the same one. They might have been Dagon. I can't remember. It could have been Dagon. So don't take my word to go look it up. But anyway, excuse me. But anyway, that vision that she had and she sent me that image, that was the same thing I saw in my image, in my dream. And my dad said, don't go in there after that, because we've basically never seen this before. But you know what is coming more and more, that we're hearing more and more in the news and seeing articles come out is about child sacrifice. And I've seen this last couple years, I've seen more articles about that and more things about sex trafficking and ritual sacrifice than I've ever seen in my life. So I don't think as a nation we really truly understand that these things really happen. We don't want to know these things really happen because this stuff has literally gone on for years in other countries, but we haven't really seen it in our country. And it's just not something that America is familiar with. But I feel like what God was showing me in that dream was that it's something that is going to be exposed. And this is another very interesting thing. When I called my sister that morning, I was telling Dina my dream. The Lord had given her a word that morning that God was fixing to start blowing across the land of America, and not just America, but he was fixing to start, the Holy Spirit was fixing to start blowing across our land, and that things that we had never seen were going to be exposed. Like there were going to be treasures of God that were going to be exposed, that, treasures that we had never had, gifts, ministry callings, things that were going to be shown to us, but there were also going to be darkness and great evils that were also going to be uncovered and discovered when the wind of the Spirit began to blow, that things were going to be uncovered. And she was like, that goes exactly with the word that the Lord gave me, that this creature that was exposed. And I feel like, and I knew in my dream that this creature that I saw represented a demonic creature. I knew it wasn't just an animal. I knew it represented a demonic creature, spirit creature. So anyway, it went hand in hand. And then of course, my friend Becky's dream is just like, how much more do you need information? Okay, so this dream was another personal dream that God showed me about a person to pray for. Okay, so let me move on here. Okay, so this was another dream that I had. This was April 19th, 2021. Okay, so in this dream, I dreamed something had happened, change shifted in our nation, and there was like a division of states and areas where you could travel, and be safe. And then there were states and areas where it was not safe because it had been taking over by people, criminals that were prone to crime. And we have seen a little bit of this, but in my dream, it was to the point that you could literally not go into whole states because in my dream, these states had been kind of taken over to the point where it was just unsafe to go in certain areas. And it didn't mean that the whole state literally had, that going on. But, the places you would go, normally the big cities and stuff like that, you would just not be able to go in anymore. And so anyway, in my dream, the news kept telling about all the stuff that was going on in these states. And in my dream, I refused to listen to the news, which is pretty much where I've been the last few months. Anyway, my husband knows, like, I have always been a news watcher. I've always loved to watch the news. I'm like my dad. But the last few months, I just refused to watch, like, literally almost any news whatsoever. And I used to literally read news articles all the time. And I've gotten to where I read very few, like literally a handful, if any, news articles because I literally cannot tolerate to hear all the bad news and all the things that's going on. I just can't handle it and keep my spirit, where it needs to be and, just encouraged and uplifted. And because of the call that I feel like that I have for the nation to pray. And, it's just where I just haven't done it. And so anyway, in my dream, my husband keeps telling me, they are doing this tour that you can ride this. It was almost like a subway, train, bus, I don't really know, but there was like a tour you could ride on this thing and you could go on this tour and they would show you all the areas where you could or could not go. And, and he was like, we need to make sure that we don't, know where we can go and we don't go. And I kept saying, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not listening. I'm not doing it. And I kept saying, no. And he said, well, Susan, he said, this is fixing to stop and you won't ever be able to know anymore. I was like, I don't care. I don't want to know. I just don't want to know. Well, then all of a sudden, And this seemed like it went on for weeks. And then all of a sudden, or maybe not weeks, maybe a couple weeks. It was it was a while though. It was it might have been a month. And so in my dream. And so anyway, then he said, Susan, they just said, this is the last tour you can go on to see where you can travel in this state. If you do not get on it this time, you will not know, and you will not know where you can go and where you can be safe and where you cannot be safe. And so in a moment of rashness, instead of thinking it through, out of my emotion, I'm like, okay, well, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. So anyway, we get on this vehicle, and I don't even know, like at times it felt like a plane, at times it felt like a bus, at times it felt like a subway, and at times it felt like a train. I can't explain it. It was just this vehicle we were on. And literally, it was the last tour, and Bobby and I were the only people that were on it because everybody else had already done this tour. It was only Bobby, me, and the man driving this vehicle, which was a little bizarre to begin, anyway. And so anyway, so we began touring and looking, and I was overwhelmed with the burning of some of the cities. And I was like, I didn't even want to see it. I was like, oh God, and it was just like, it was like devastation after devastation of seeing the ruins of the nation in certain areas. And I was like completely just thinking, why did I do this? And so anyway, as we're sitting, I looked down in my seat, and as I looked down, I had like these jeans on, and I saw these maggots they were like, not a lot of them, but there was a few maggots that were on the seat, and I saw a couple of them on my pants. And the guy that was, running driving this vehicle, he said, here's some spray. He said, they've had so many people just, like literally people that live on the street and people that are literally just eat out of trash cans because the people that had been doing the tours was even some of the people that lived in those broken down states where there was literally no food left. These cities were so devastated that everything was destroyed. And so there were people that literally had no way to escape from these cities that had literally, some of them have actually got on the tour because the tour was free. That was the thing about this tour. The tour was free for anybody. It was like the government was offering everybody a tour just to make sure they could be safe. So they weren't charging anybody, kind of like the vaccine. They don't charge you for I guess they don't charge you. I mean, I don't really even know. Maybe they do. But anyway, it was something free that the government offered. And so anyway, so they had spray to spray and kill the maggots that were, the few little maggots. It was like 2 or 3 little maggots that got on my pants. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should have never got on this tour. That's what I was thinking. And anyway, in my dream, the Lord let me know also those maggots represented the bad news. And that, that the Lord did not want me listening. And, that I shouldn't have even gone on this tour. Because the Lord told me, this is what he told me in the dream. He said, I don't want you to base your decisions on where you go or where you don't go based on what the news media people are telling you. He said, because if I send you to that city where this is destruction going on, I will be your protection. And I don't want you having a mindset about what it's going to be like, and you're full of fear because something might happen to you. He said, I want you to know that when I send you someone, I will be with you. You will have grace to be there. You will have an assignment to be there. And I don't want you to have any fear about what you do or where you go, because in this season, you're going to have to trust me to get you to where you need to be. And you can't worry don't listen to the news media. Don't listen to anything. You listen to me, and you be guided only by my voice, the voice of the Lord going before you. And you listen to me, because when you listen to me, I will keep you safe, and you will meet the person you're supposed to do. You will speak the word you're supposed to say. Do not listen to all the bad news, but you listen to me, and don't, and like literally just, wipe this off and move forward. And, so anyway, the thing was over, and, anyway, okay, so I think, let me see if that's it. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, let me see. Okay, so I think that's everything. Yeah, that he would protect me when I woke up. Then I woke up. Okay. So then, last night, I had a vision, April 22nd. This is April 22nd. It was last night. So last night I had this vision. Oh, this one is actually kind of a family one, but since I've already started reading it, I'll just go ahead and read this. So last night I had this vision, and I saw this water flowing out everywhere, And it was almost like I compared it to like a unstopped dam. Like, you know how y'all, I mean, y'all don't, everybody don't know, but my friends that live here, you know, we live at the reservoir, and you'll see this water just gushing out across the reservoir. And it's dammed up on one side, but they will release it and they'll let water sometimes gush out. But in my vision, it was like an unstopped dam. That's what it looked like. It was like there was no dam stopping the water, and this water was just gushing out, and it was just beautiful, crystal clear, and it was going in every direction. It was just like bubbling forth, and it was like probably, gosh, it was probably up to almost my thighs, knee thighs, you know, but it was just like gushing out every direction. And in my dream, that it was like pure clean water, and I knew in my dream that this represented my family, and that God was just using us really to bring life, you know, if not just to each other but to other people. And that's, you know, that's really truly what my heart's desire is, to, you know, just to be a spring of living water. You know, when we have the Holy Spirit, you know, if we literally follow him, he is that living water. Jesus is the living water that flows from the throne. And, you know, and we need to, you know, be that life source for others. We need to let the Holy Spirit flow through us and speak a word in a due season to people. And anyway, but that was that dream. Okay, so then this was an interesting, and I guess I'll share it. I'll tell this one on myself, but but this was a vision that I had. And I was talking to someone, and about how I was praying for the world and the nation, and how that and this has been true. This is a true thing. How my heart has been so concerned, not just for our nation, but for other nations that truly depend on America. And because of just, you know, it just seems like we've just been in such a crisis this last year, and not just us, you know, the whole world's in a crisis. And in my dream, I'm sharing with somebody. I don't even know. I didn't even see the person that I was sharing it with. But in my dream, I was sharing it with somebody about how I've been praying and interceding for our nation. And I've just been so concerned, you know, for our nation, and how I've been so concerned for other countries that depend on our nation, you know, just because it's just been such a hard time for our nation. And anyway, that right in the middle of this, I heard this voice, and this voice speaks to me a lot. But in my dream, this voice says, "You have to go back to church." And I will say, you know, ever since the coronavirus, I've gone to church a few times, but I probably stay home and watch online services more than I go to church. And a lot of it has to do with my oldest daughter. She comes to visit me a lot on Sundays because her husband works all the time. And so she gets lonely. And so she knows Sundays is a good day to come and just hang out. And we have lunch. And my other sister comes over and I cook lunch for them. And so, you know, usually while church is on at 10 o'clock, I'm cooking lunch and my grandkids are running around. And, you know, and so I'm listening and until they get here. And so it's like it's just become kind of a habit of having my family. And so, but in my dream, the Lord spoke to me and he says, "You need to get back to church." And then he said this. He says, "You have to go back to church." And he says, "If you want me to go back to the nursery, you have to go back to the church, like a building." And I knew that what the Lord was saying was that if our children, these babies, if our children are going to be raised up the way that we were raised, you know, in the church, that the older people, that the mothers and the fathers and the grandparents have to get back to church, like in a building. We have to start gathering together again if we are going to see our children raised, because if we don't, we are going to lose our children. And that was very convicting for me, because like I said, I've gone I was actually there last week, and a couple weeks ago, but a lot of the times I will stay home and watch it online, because it's literally become a new habit. And so it's going to, but I want to listen to the Lord. And I'm not saying you have to go every single Sunday, because, there are times that things do come up. So I'm not saying this to condemn anybody. I'm not saying this is like for every person that listens to this, because I don't know your situation. God does. But I'm saying, I feel like what the Lord was telling me, this was a personal thing for me. And I really do think it is for other people too. But I feel like God was saying that, you have to be at church, because we want to see families back in church, church gathering, because the Bible does say in the end times, forsake not the assembling of yourself together. And so I felt like this was kind of a convicting word for myself that, Susan, you've got to take serious going back to church. And, the church is literally 5 minutes from my house, so it's not like it's hard. Okay, so then I had this other dream next. So then in this next dream, this was kind of a family dream, but I also think this is also for the whole nation because it was like a national thing. I mean, it seemed like a national thing. So anyway, in my next dream, I dreamed that Bobby, Ronna, and I, and our whole family was on this big ship. And I really feel like this represents other families too, but in my dream, we were together. And we were on a journey of some type. And in this dream, I was so very tired and fatigued. And I really believe that is because that's kind of how I have been the last few days because of all the stuff I told y'all that Bobby and I have been doing around the house. I have just not stopped in 2 months. And so anyway, in my dream, I said, Bobby, I said, please, I said, can you just watch over everything while I take a nap? And in my dream, everyone had a hammock on this ship, and it was personally decorated. Every person had their personal decorated hammock. I know that sounds odd, but I do have very odd dreams, but I knew the hammock represented a place on the top of the ship where we would rest and we would lay and we would sit, lay around and we would enjoy our time in the sun on the top of the ship. And so anyway, so Bobby was like, sure, just lay down, And so I laid down and I, went to sleep. And then when I woke up, I got up and I felt so much better, and I was just walking around on the ship, looking around. And as I'm looking around, I saw Rhonda's hammock. And this hammock just stood out to me because in her hammock it was like, how hammocks are, I don't know if they're crocheted or knitted. I don't really know how they make them, but they're made of that rope together. And so in my vision, her hammock had an American flag created, sewed, crocheted into it, in the hammock. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is beautiful. I wish my hammock had that on it. But, I knew that, when I came out of that vision that was like an assignment, like the same as for me. Like I truly have an assignment of intercession for our country. And I knew that same assignment was on Ronna because Ronna has many dreams about the nations too. But, I wasn't really thinking about it. But in my dream, that's what the Lord was showing me, that she has that same mandate, of America, that God, has that same call in her life. And in a place of rest where that God was going to give her dreams and visions, as she laid down her head to rest too for our country. And anyway, let's see. I knew that, like in my dream, that this is another thing I want to share with everybody, is like I knew that the journey wasn't over, but in my dream, being on this ship, which I really feel like it was the ship of God, the ship of Zion. We hear about that old ship of Zion. I really felt like what it was, and it felt like I was at home. That I had so much peace and rest on this ship. And I feel like that represents the church in this season, that even though we're still on this journey and we're not to the end of where the Lord is bringing us in this season, that we, that God wants it. We have a place of rest. We all had our personal hammock, our personal assignment, and that God was going to bring us through, because He is the one that is, it's His ship. And He's taken us through this journey, and we will get to where we're supposed to be as a church, in this next season. And it's not going to be hard. And that it was just like we were at home. We were all at home. And even though, we've had great crises, and we've had great things to overcome in this, in this last year. But that if we just stay where we're supposed to be, and we, rest when we're supposed to rest, and we just follow the Lord, that we're going to get through this season together, and it's not going to be hard because God has us where we're supposed to be. Okay, so then I had this next dream. And in this dream, it was very interesting. So I dreamed that my friends and I were all at this conference. And I have a group of friends that I've had for 20-something years. And I call them my Song of Solomon, friends, because these were the ladies that God led me to 25 years ago or so. And we went through the Song of Solomon Bibles. It started with the Song of Solomon, but we had many Bible studies. My spiritual mama, Miss Linda Farmer, she taught us almost the whole Bible, seriously, in that few years that we had Bible studies. And so I saw all these ladies, and we were all together. And we were all going to a conference, and I saw Miss Linda, and I saw my sister Dina and Glenda and Miss Gail, and just many of us were together, and anyway, so as we're going into this event, this was the most amazing thing. They were handing out these little square, how when you go to a baseball game or a football game and they have these little paper things they put hot dogs and stuff in, little paper plates. They're not plates, but they're little square rectangle containers. And so everybody that was going into this conference was getting a little thing of ice cream. And the steward or the guy that was there, he had this other bowl of stuff as he would hand them that, and then he would take this big scoop, and it looked like creamy condensed milk with coconut goodness in it. I cannot explain this topping. He would take this big scoop and he would slap this topping on there. And I like coconut, but I'm not even like someone that, like my husband loves coconut. So anything has coconut, he's going to eat it. But I like coconut, but I'm not like that. But I mean, this topping, it's like ice cream is good enough. Homemade ice cream is like my favorite thing. But then this topping looked, oh my God, it looked so rich and so delicious. It was like it looked better than the ice cream. And you wanted that big scoop, and you wanted the most you could get. And he would slap on this big coconut condensed milk thing on top of the ice cream. And so right when our group got there, he ran out and he said, "Don't worry, they're bringing more. Just any minute they're going to bring some more." He said, "But if you don't want to wait and you want to go sit down and get your place," he said, "one of y'all can run around the corner and you can get some, and you can get enough for all your group." And so the ladies, Miss Linda, Miss Gail, Miss Glenda, they all looked at me, Dina, and they were like, "Go get us some." And I'm like, of course they're going to tell me to go get it, And so I was like, okay. So he said, "Well, it's just around the corner." Well, you know how in dreams there is nothing just around the corner. So in my dream, I had to go through all kinds of obstacles to get to this place. It was like, I'm gonna read how I wrote it, because it was just crazy. So let's see. So anyway, go to the steward. He had just written, okay, so he said, "Just around the corner and get some for everyone, because that's where they kept it." So the ladies all looked at me. Okay, so I took the task of going to get the topping. Well, it wasn't as easy as he said it would be, just as dreams go. So just run around the corner and it's there. It seemed to have many twists, turns, stairways going up and down, and detours to finally get to that place where this cream topping was. So I finally did get everyone's topping, though, and I head back through the same maze to get back to them. It was like in my dream, you know how you see these ships and they have these poles, you have to go, I mean, it was stuff like that. It was like I had to do this and I'd have to do that and all these crazy things. And it's like, are you kidding me? Just around the corner, nothing. This was like not easy to get through this obstacle course to get to this cream. To me, it's like, I don't even know if it's worth it. But to them, it was like I had an assignment. And so I did it. And anyway, I got back to them. And then I went right into another dream, and this is the last dream. And this was a dream about Bill Johnson from Bethel. And, I know Bill Johnson. I don't really know him well, but I mean, I've, watched some of his videos over the last few years, and I follow them on Facebook and probably Instagram, but I don't really listen to him all the time. I don't even know the last time I really listened to him. And, but anyway, I had this dream, and this dream is so powerful. So anyway, so I saw Bill Johnson, and he is sitting in, it's like we're still at that conference, but the dream shifted. And so anyway, he's like on one of the bleachers across, but it's like he's on, the film, like we're watching this big screen, and it's him, but he's there, but it's also like we're watching it on screen, if that makes sense. And so anyway, he is interviewing all these people that are sitting below him in a dugout. And I don't know why it's like that, but we were like in a football stadium, but they were like in a baseball dugout, but they were like right below him, if that makes sense. So anyway, he was sharing the video of the testimonies of these families that him and Bethel had helped throughout this last season that they had gone through. And in my dream, him and his church, and they're from California, for those who do not know, in my dream, they had gone through one of the most hard seasons that they have ever endured in his whole ministry life. And I don't really know what they've gone through. I have no clue. I do know California has gone through a lot more than some of the states with the virus. And I know they've had fires and stuff like that. But like, honestly, I don't really keep up with all of that stuff. So I don't know what all he's gone through. But in my dream, it was so, it had taken a toll on Bill. And literally, it had taken such a toll on him in my dream that it almost, he wasn't silenced, but he was more quiet than he had been in his past, because it had been a season of him growing and in a great fierce battle. I'll put it like that. He had been through a fierce spiritual battle. And so anyway, but even in that fierce spiritual battle, his church had reached down in areas of, even beyond their ability to help people. And in my dream, there was story after story of these people sharing how they had lost homes, they had lost everything, and that this church had helped them restore their homes or build new homes or clothes or food or everything. Like, it was like crisis after crisis of people that they had helped beyond even their means, beyond their ability, and beyond their strength, if that makes sense. And it was just as you sat and you watched this group, and it was almost like they almost seemed like a baseball team or a football team, but I don't think they were. I think they were just regular people that were sitting in that thing, but that's kind of what it seemed like, because it was men. It was like the men sharing of their stories of the families. And so, anyway, so as we're all sitting and watching this gut-wrenching, just victorious kind of, they'd come to the end of this battle almost, like they were at the end of this battle. All of a sudden, this other giant in the Lord minister, just general in the Lord, and I cannot remember their name. I cannot remember who it is, because the Lord wiped out who this person was right as I woke up. I could not remember. The only one I could remember was Bill Johnson, and I think the Lord did it for a reason, because for some reason maybe this person shouldn't be exposed at this time for what they've gone through, and maybe when I see it happen, whenever that happens, is then it will know that that's the season, because God gives me things on timeline sometimes. And when I see this happen, it's like, oh gosh, kind of like the coronavirus. When I seen the cruise ship, it was like timeline. He gave me the cruise ship dream for a timeline. Oh, this is it, So anyway, I think that's why the Lord hid this person from me when I woke up. But anyway, this man, this great general in the Lord, was a dear, dear friend of Bill Johnson's for years, leader in the church, and he had also been going through great, tremendous spiritual battles. And in my dream, he had come to town, and he could not wait to see Bill. And so he knew when he come into conference that Bill was doing this interview, and he thought, oh, I just cannot wait any longer. I'm just going to slip in there. I'm just going to sit down. I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to mess up this interview, but I'm just going to sit there because I cannot wait to see my friend. I just need to be in his presence, because they had both gone through these great, tremendous battles, and it was like he knew that he just needed the strength that Bill had. And so anyway, he came in, and everybody in the conference are like, oh my gosh, look who is here, And so anyway, even though he was trying not to disturb the interview, of course the interview was like, it was like blah, blah, blah in the background, because all you could see was these two men. When he sat down, the men kind of like, how men will, they'll sock each other, or, they sock each other. Women, we grab each other, we cry, we hug. But, guys will just kind of hit each other. That's what they did. They just kind of hit each other. And, literally when they did that, their eyes welled with tears. Their eyes welled with tears, because they knew that they had overcome this great battle. And, they had come out of this war, and they had survived it. They were thankful they had survived it. It wasn't just like maybe they were thriving, but they had survived it. It didn't take them out. It didn't kill them. And so literally everyone is just like, it's almost like silence because of the great battle, and they're just like, their tears are just, it's like all they could do. It's all they could do to keep from just bawling, they're just, tears are welling in their eyes. And then all of a sudden, whoever is running the video of this conference, and sharing Bill in the interviews, all of a sudden they do like this meme scene, like, it's like over, you still see them sitting there in the chairs beside each other, or in the bleachers, and like on top of them, it's like a screen on top of them. And the man that came in, the person made them a Batman, and the person made Bill Johnson a Superman, and they started, they jumped up and they were doing these bam, pow, you know, how they do in the old cartoons, like pow, bang, do, you know, and they were just like high-fiving each other, you know how men would do. And y'all, everyone in the stadium, we were like weeping and celebrating because we knew that victory had come for the church and we had overcome this great battle that we had all gone through. It was so powerful. And let me see if there's anything else I want to share about this. It was, I don't want to forget anything. Okay, let's see. Okay, that was basically, yeah, I had one other dream. Yeah, it was just basically that we had all come through this battle, and we were all, like, everyone was battle weary, but it was like, oh Lord, it was all worth it. We won the battle. And anyway, so I had another dream, but it was just a personal one. It was just that God was showing me that I had an assignment, and this was I think this was last night or the night before. I dreamed that I had an assignment in my city to do something. And anyways, and I just believe that was me just praying and interceding. And I don't even know what all that means because, you know, God don't always show me. But anyway, these dreams, y'all, were just so powerful. And I thank y'all for watching. I pray that these dreams bless you, give you hope, give you strength, you know, for our future. And, you know, starting with the green light, ending with this one with Bill Johnson and this other minister that I don't know, but I feel like I will know, you know, soon. But anyway, I pray to God that all these dreams bless y'all. And I love you all so much. And thank you so much for watching my videos. God bless you.